In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to be as fit as you can possibly be. My name's Linda Magid, and I am the owner of Pilates for Real Bodies, an online mat Pilates studio. And I am also a fitness instructor who teaches many other formats. So I am the perfect person to talk to you about how you can be as fit as you can possibly be. Let's now talk about what it takes to be at your peak level of fitness. What is fitness? What is to be fit? I'm going to talk about it in the purpose of this video and what you can achieve with the body that you have. It does not include, by the way, losing weight. I am not a weight loss expert. I am a fitness expert. Those two things are very different. So regardless of your body shape, your body size, we are talking about your muscles and your heart and your joints. We're not talking about weight. And I hope that's a relief for you. So then what is fit if it's not thin, which it isn't? For me, it's these four things. It is a strong heart, which includes the lungs, but a strong heart, strong joints, strong muscles, and strong balance. Those four things. Those are how you can be fit. If you work on strengthening those four areas, that is how you can be as fit as you can possibly be. You will reach your peak level of fitness by working on those four areas. Now, how do you do that? In order to think about how we work in those four areas, I want to teach you about the phases of exercise. They are levels. You start, you could think at the bottom, but that's your foundation. And then everything else is building on your foundation. The first one is stabilization. So what does stabilization mean? It means you are stable when you are exercising or when you're moving. And that includes having great balance. So if you don't have good balance, it's really hard to do the exercises that you need to do in order to become fit. If you're always concerned about falling, that is not a helpful way to go about life, as you can imagine. And as we age, we lose our balance ability. It diminishes over time. So if you're watching this and you're in your 30s and you're like, my balance is fine, you really still need to practice it. You continue to practice it to keep it up. It is like a muscle, okay? So that's stability. The next level is muscle endurance. Being able to do something for a long time. So an example I like to use is gardening. When you're gardening, you are hunched over for a long time. You're squatting for a long time. You're on your knees for a long time. You're reaching for a long time. It is functional, and because it's functional, it's useful. And you build on your stability by next creating muscle endurance. The next phase is muscle strength or muscle development. So you are taking the muscle fibers and you are strengthening them. You're lifting weights. That's pretty much all that is. You're lifting weights, you're breaking down the muscle. When it rebuilds, it gets stronger. Now, for the women who are watching, I want you to be clear. It does not make your muscles bigger. Strength does not include size of the muscle. And if you want to know more about this, you can watch my video where I interview a trainer who talks a lot about this. And it's really fascinating, and it is actually kind of funny because women now think, because we see men in the gym working out and they're really buff, we think, well, if I do what they're doing, I'm going to look like that, and I don't want to look like that. But that's not the case. The men who are, and women who have large muscles, are not in the phase of strength. They're in the next phase. And that phase is called maximal strength. And that's where people are practicing hypertrophy or increasing the size of the muscle. And that is a very specific way to exercise. You have to eat an incredible amount of food, and you have to work out and do a specific kind of number of sets and kind of sets that are really something that you need training to do that. You need to be, or have someone training you. I'll be honest, I'm not trained in this. I've never been interested in it, and I'm not a personal trainer. So I don't know really anything about hypertrophy or increasing muscle growth, but I do know that if all you're doing is lifting heavier and heavier weights in regular repetitions, you won't increase size. And then the last is power. And I like to think of power as a power lifter. So they have their bar and they have many 40-pound, I think they're 45-pound weights on the ends, and they are lifting up very quickly and then pushing up very quickly. That's all power. If I needed to lift up my maximal strength as I am without practice, I would be lifting and slowly trying to lift that weight off the floor. They don't need that because they've added power, which is associated with speed. Olympic athletes are also great examples. The sprinters, right? They have worked through all the levels. They have gained muscle size. A lot of those Olympic runners have huge legs for a reason, because they want to achieve power. Now they're adding speed to their muscle strength and size. Okay, we're not going to be working on the last two at all, because while they are definitely phases of fitness, I don't consider those necessary to be the most fit that you can be. Somebody else may argue differently, but for the purposes of our conversation, we're only going to work on the first four. A little bit of training about balance. Balance is essentially the communication between your brain and your feet and your ankles. You have proprioceptors in your feet and ankles, which are very fast. There are fibers that react very quickly to the information that your brain is sending them. And so when you're standing on one leg, and if you're wobbling like this, that's not actually so bad, because you're training your brain and your ankles what stability feels like when you're standing on one foot. Stability is basically exercising to increase that communication. I'm going to use the lunge as an example through our 4 phases that we're going to use, so that you can see how different they all are. And then you can look to see about classes and trainings that address all 4 areas. So with stability with the lunge, it would look like adding a balance component to your lunge. So you might lunge down and then lift up, and then come down and lift. Pretty obvious, I'm adding this lift. It's creating a balance challenge in my front leg. So if that's super easy for you, then you can add equipment. So now I have a block under my foot, and it's creating a challenge. Well, first of all, the block is unstable on the carpet. Secondly, this doesn't feel normal to my body, having one leg higher than the other one. And so that's creating a bit of a balance challenge, and I have to press up higher. So that's working my leg a little bit more effort. So I might do that 8 times, 3 sets. If you need a lot more, then you want to add an intentionally unstable surface to your foot. You can use a Bosu ball, you can use an inflatable disc that's about this big, okay? Anything where it is really unstable under that foot, and lifting up, and with a lot of control. That's where, that's the theme. That was great, right? That's the theme for stabilization. And yes, I'm leaving that in the video because I want you to know that it's hard. And so for me, because doing a regular lunge is not hard, that's what I would be working on. I would have a Bosu or something else under my foot that's creating a lot of instability. So that is stabilization. You're looking for classes or programs, formats that include balance and control. So what would that be if you were, looking at a gym's class list? You'd be looking for Pilates. You'd be looking for certain kinds of yoga. So a yoga class that is a slower flow would be good. I mean, vinyasa does, but vinyasa I think is more the next phase of muscle endurance, but you are still getting balance in a vinyasa class, which means a flow, but it's usually faster. So you're looking for anything where like you're coming, yoga has a ton of stability work in it, especially if you are down here and then you've got to come up. That's stability, because that transition is forcing you to focus on balance. And then Tai Chi. Tai Chi is excellent for balance work. And yes, it is slow, but it's training you to understand, or it's not training you consciously, but it's training your body to understand how to move in space. So those are just some examples. That's not all there is. If you know of something that sounds like what I'm describing and you love that class, awesome. As long as you're getting stability and there's control, there's a control component in the program. So that is our foundation, stabilization. The next level is muscle endurance, which again is being able to do something for a long time. This is where you're doing many repetitions, but you're not using a lot of weight, or you're not using any weight at all, because you are trying to create the ability for your muscle to work over a long period of time. So if we were talking about a lunge for muscle endurance, so you'd start slow, down 2 counts, up 2 counts, down 2 counts, up 2 counts. Now with my heel off the floor, I'm creating stability and I'm using my stability, right? So I've been practicing my balance, and now I can be up on this heel and I feel more secure in it. Now I'm going to speed it up. I'm going to do 8 of these. I can already feel this back quad set really burning. I don't know, I never really count. I say 8 and then I start talking. So now I'm going to do 3 counts down. 3, 2, 1, and up. And 3, 2. Now it is really intense. And I am continuing to push through that intensity, but I can feel that muscle burn. That is what you're looking for in your muscle endurance program. Now I'm going to just pulse at the bottom, and I'm going to do this for 8, 12 counts, but my counts are 2 counts each. So that's 8, 7, you see, 6. Now we've been doing, I don't even know how many I've done. 80 lunges, or been in this position for 80 counts. So now I'm burning. I got to shake it out. Let the blood come back into my muscle, maybe even stretch just a little bit to get that muscle back to where it was. That is muscle endurance. So where do you get that? You get that in bar. You also get that in Pilates. You also get that in yoga, especially a vinyasa flow class. Anything where it's just low weight and high repetitions. Now we're getting into muscular development or muscular strength. So, like I said before, we are using heavy weights. We are breaking down the fibers of the muscle. Then they come back together stronger, not bigger, but stronger. And this is how we increase our strength. One of the places that people, and especially women, fall short in strength is that they never increase their weight amount. You have to increase, it's called the load, okay? They don't increase the load over time. So the best way to do this is to start where when you work out, if you're not doing any strength, you work out at a level with a weight load where when you're done, you feel sore the next day, okay? And that's great. And then Do that for like 2 months. Make sure you're not getting any pain in your shoulders or your knees, that your form is good. And then after about 2 months or so, you can, over that time, increase the number of repetitions and increase the number of sets, but then you want to increase the weight. Now, for some people, going from 5 to 10, depending on what your gym has or what you're using at home, that's too much. 5 pounds is a lot. So you can always take a small weight and add it to what you're using. So this is 12 pounds, and then I just added 2 pounds to it. So if I'm at 12 and I'm like, boy, this isn't very hard anymore, I'm ready to move on, I'll just add 1 or 2 pounds to it, and I'll do that for a while. Boy, it makes a big difference, 1 or 2 pounds. Your body notices it. And then when I'm ready, I will move to 15. And so that is generally how you increase your muscular strength, not big leaps. And you can even do 1 set heavier and then 2 sets lighter. You can slowly increase the weight. It doesn't have to be fast, and you don't have to be super sore every time. In fact, you don't want to be super sore every time. The first few times you do it, yes. Or if you're not doing it a lot during the week, okay. But you should not feel sore all over your body every single time, because you want your body to get used to it, because then you want to be ready for the next level. I'm going to show you very basic lunge. I keep my heel up and I'm coming down and up. And I'm going to do this 12 times, and I'm going to do 3 sets. Not right now, because I'm not working out right now. I'm doing this video. As you are getting stronger, you can create more complicated movements. And that is going to add in some stabilization work. So like yesterday, we did side lunge and up, and then a back lunge and up. Okay? And we did it for 45 seconds. So obviously, that added stabilization. And people did as many as they could in that 45 seconds. I always encourage people to go on the slow side, because I'd rather have you at a really deep lunge with your weights than just this and trying to just get as many in that speed. And that's more power and that's more cardio, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Classes that you can do for strength. It may seem obvious, but a class that uses weights that are 5 pounds or higher, I mean, if you need to use 2 or 3, that's fine. But if a class is only using 2 or 3 pounds, then that's an endurance class. If people are using 5 pounds and higher and everybody has different weights, that's going to be a strength class. Anything that where a class is encouraging you to increase your weight. And then, of course, hiring a trainer is also a great way to do that. And you tell them, I want to increase my muscle strength, and they should know how to do that. You can use machines, you can use free weights, you can use your body, but the thing about body weight is your body weight stays the same. So that's going to be a little bit more for muscle endurance once you get that strength. Let's use push-ups as an example of what I'm talking about. If you are someone who is doing their push-ups on their knees, that means that you are not strong enough to do it on your toes. So you need to increase your strength to be able to get up onto your toes and do a nice deep push-up. And then you get to that point. So now you're using your body weight, but you're not getting stronger. You are now increasing your endurance if you're increasing the number of push-ups you're doing, because your body weight is staying generally the same the whole time. So the push-ups are not getting harder. If you wanted to increase your chest strength, once you get to that push-up on your toes, you can add a weight plate to your back. So 20 pounds and 30 pounds and 40 pounds. But you don't have to do that. You can use a machine. Or you can use free weights and lay on your back and do chest flies or chest presses. So you are then increasing strength in your chest muscles. So that's how an exercise can go from one phase to another phase. It all depends on, are you adding load or are you doing something for a long time? Okay, so we have talked about strengthening your muscles, obviously. We've talked about strengthening your balance, because that's stability. And we've talked about strengthening your joints. Now, you don't really strengthen the joints because joints are made up of bones and soft tissue. You don't strengthen those as much as you're strengthening the muscles around them. And you're also keeping your tendons healthy by using them. So, that's how I'm talking about strengthening joints. And we've done that in the stabilization and the endurance and the strength. That's all great, healthy joints. Plus, I'm assuming that you have great form. So make sure you have good form while you're doing it, or else you're going to hurt your joints. What's the last thing? It is cardio. Now, most people, when they hear cardio, they think, oh my God, I'm going to have to run on the treadmill. And nobody wants that unless you like it. And then you're crazy. How do you know if you're getting cardio and you're not getting endurance? You know because of your heart rate. So where you want to think from is that you are working at a moderate level. So your heart is beating, your breathing, your breathing gets heavier. You can have a conversation, but it's not real easy. And you are kind of huffing and puffing. And then you can also get to a high level of cardio, which is where you have to breathe out of your mouth. And you are really getting to what we call breathless. So if someone were to talk to you, you could say, you could say yes or no answers, but you don't want to have a conversation because you're working so hard. And then when you're done, you're really trying to get as much air into your body as possible. And so that is a high level of cardio. And you want to be at either moderate or high. If you are a walker, I have to tell you that I have a love-hate relationship with walking. On the one hand, I think it's great because people are out there and they're getting fresh air and they're getting exercise. But on the other hand, for most people, it's endurance and it's not cardio because they're not walking fast enough. If you're walking with a friend and you guys are chit-chatting the whole time and you're not really having any trouble breathing, that's endurance. If you're walking your dog and your dog is anything like mine and he has to sniff every single blade of grass, then that's, kind of endurance. But it's not real intense exercise. It certainly isn't cardio. So you want to be thinking from, am I getting at the moderate or the high? Okay, we've hit them all. You know how to have strong joints, a strong heart, strong muscles, and strong balance. And if you can keep strengthening those and practicing those areas, you are going to be at your fittest. Okay. So now you've gotten all this new information. I know you're not going to be able to do all of this all the time, and that's fine. I'm not looking for you to live at your gym. I just want you to be thinking from these places, because if you're someone who's just a runner, you need to be doing strengthening. If you're someone who's only lifting weights, you need to be getting in that cardio and that muscle endurance. Okay, you don't want to leave anything out because it's really the whole package. And if you are looking for how to get stability and muscle endurance, then I invite you to take my Pilates classes. You can find out more information about those at the bottom of the page where I have my website, and I have all my information there about how you can take my Pilates classes, either private or online. And I have lots of free classes right here on YouTube, which I would be so happy if you did. And I'd love to hear what you think of those. I would love to know what you think about this whole video. You got to the end. That's amazing. Please leave me a comment or a question in the comments, and I will absolutely answer you. And I hope that while you are doing all of this, you are feeling great. You're feeling great about yourself. And until next time, stay healthy and be strong.